Anu is a very amazing person, but I had a lot of clarity in the fact that I will trust my spleen. And my spleen...
Hey guys, welcome to Little Black Bird 91. I do apologize about the time there, guys. Oof, tell you this now, your boy ain't feeling too good, bro. So listen, if you see me cut off the live, it's because I gotta go. If you know, you know. But listen, look, it's crazy. This episode was another interesting episode. We got to see the couples, I guess, go off to the to the island or whatever you want to call it. Those who made it, right? So we had couples. Well, Anu and Patrick didn't make it. We saw Jed and Bada make it. We saw Sarova and Karl make it. Javan and Katisha made it. And Kieran and Megan also made it as well. Okay. Now, there are some interesting things that were coming up. Okay. Some interesting things that were coming up. Karl and Sarova. Ooh, I don't know how that's going to turn out. I'm going to tell you why. I don't know how that's going to turn out because in reality, with Karl and Sarova, the issue that they have is that Karl may not be all the way honest about how he feels. I'm not saying he definitely does. Or Sarova could end up self-sabotaging, okay, and actually finishing the situation off. So it can go either way with Karl and Sarova if they don't get their act together, right? Because Karl likes blondies. Sarova is not a blondie. This is first Indian gal. He's her type, but she's not necessarily his type. I said, I hope this doesn't go badly for them. You know what I mean? Like I hope that doesn't go too badly for them. But shout out to him as well, defending Damola as well. And I think it's interesting how he went. I wouldn't say he went after Katisha, but he did ask a few pressing questions and how Katisha actually answered it. That's what I would say. Obviously, then we had Jed and Bada. And shout out to Jed and Bada. I like them. I think Jed and Bada are a really cool couple. I like their vibe. They have, same kind of cultural backgrounds, shared values, shared cultures. They're intentional with their behaviors. Like everything about them was actually really, really good. I like them. It was very powerful to see Jed and Bada. They're already at the I love you stage. So far, so good. Of course, we know that in 4 episodes, things can change. But I think this is going to be a very good situation with them as well. I think they're definitely going to be in a good space coming up to the next few episodes. Kieran and Megan, I like them together. Like I said, I think so long as, I think the attraction is uber high for these two. The only issue they may face is, again, that it might be an insecurity thing. How will they handle their insecurities? I think that's only the major issue I have with them. That, we know that Kieran wants to cling to somebody a bit needy. How would he react when Megan wants a bit of space? We know that Megan also has abandonment issues too. How will she handle with him wanting a bit of space? How will they handle each other when they're both good-looking people? No, for real. How are they going to handle each other when they're both good-looking people? Because when they have their space, they could trigger each other. That's something that could definitely happen. And then we had Javen, Katisha, and Damola. Bro, he's gonna call him D from now because me and saying people's names is nasty work. But yes, Katisha, Damola, and Javin, the triangle came to an end. Now it's really interesting that overnight Katisha went with Javin. Okay, all right, Damola. But it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen, bro. Not right now. It's not gonna happen right now. I'm sorry. The names ain't gonna come to me right now. Damola, it's not gonna work right now, if that's how you say it. But with that triangle, okay, that triangle, all right, is interesting because her switch around overnight, even Javen thought it was over. Okay, even Javen thought it was over. But the fact is, she never was convinced about D. That's a scary proposition. It's a scary proposition to know that she was never really interested in D. And we knew that because she never gave any real assurance apart from he's my man. Yeah. But she was never really complimenting him back the same way in terms of her liking him. She liked how he made her feel. And I think it was proven today on this episode when we watched it and Javen asked her about the triangle and she said, there was no triangle. What do you mean there was no triangle, babe? Yeah, because what she was waiting for was always waiting for Javen. Yeah, I'm not gonna cuss her out or anything. I don't think we need to. I think the reality of the situation is she had already made a choice a long time ago. She just wanted to keep the other person in bay because again, some people just don't want to lose. Some people don't want to leave that place without finding somebody, and some people are, they use people as placeholders because they themselves are not going to be as confident as they need to be to actually do what they need to do. And so, boy, it's going to be very, very interesting. Okay, very interesting. Okay, let's get into this breakdown really quick because, of course, I want to have a little bit of a breakdown and then invite you guys who are in the audience. If you want to come and have your say on the last 4 episodes, by all means, we'd love to have you here as well. So I'll put the join the conversation in the chat as well so you can actually get involved with the conversation. All right, please leave some comments in the chat as well. I will be reading them. Very much want you guys to be a part of the conversation. We love your perspectives on each of the couples as well. So if you know you got an opinion, make sure you put it there. Now, what I will say also is for those of you who are on this platform, if you're not a member, become one because I'm about to make it members only. Yes, I know. When I say members only, I'm about to make the chat members only. So if you've not become a member, make sure you become one right now. It's only £1. It's $1. I didn't make it expensive. I'm not here to rob you for your pennies in your bank. Okay. All right. Don't worry about the African children. They're fine. Okay. All right. We ain't here to twist your arm. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's get into this first one. Break it down. It's obviously Anu and Patrick because he obviously followed his spleen. Okay. Anu and Patrick. Okay. He finally followed his spleen. So we're going to talk about that. Okay. All right. We're going to talk about that. All right. Cool. So Anu and Patrick, let's have a look.
Unfortunately, this time didn't tell me anything. It didn't tell me that Anu was the one for me. In the end, I don't think that either of us opened up, let's say, to our core. And maybe that.
Okay. Now, I think it's interesting. He said something interesting. Of course, we know he didn't follow. He of course, we got told that his that his spleen told him something different, which is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that whatever you follow, your spleen, your Holy Spirit, your God, whatever you follow. Of course, I'm a Christian, and I expect you to follow the Christ that we love and serve. But I'm saying to you, I'm not got a problem with who you follow as to how you made a decision. These two, unfortunately, though, were never compatible. And I think it's a really important lesson. Anu is hurt at the end. And I think this is, for those of us who are Christians, this is a really important lesson. And I said this yesterday, God will allow some of you to go through certain doors. And what you felt, what was made for evil, will turn for good. What you thought what was happening to you will allow you to go through certain scenarios so you can learn and stop using your heart and your head, but allowing the Holy Spirit to guide you. Sometimes you will go through a door and you'll be like, God, why did you allow me through the door? No, why did you walk through the door? Why were you expecting God to shut the door off? And you know what I'm talking about. Some of you, literally, there is a person, a man or a woman who you're dating or trying to date or see, and you're like, God, if it's and we've all prayed this prayer. If they're not for me, get rid of them. Now, a lot of times God does get rid of them, and there's a lot of times too where God goes, nah, you have all the wisdom already, you have all the knowledge already. Walk away. And sometimes God allows these scenarios and life situations to train you. You see, God is a God that likes to bring correction in, So for me personally, all right, it is important to understand that you need to be aware that your wisdom and understanding is also very important. Sometimes you can just look at a situation and you can tell it's not for you. Okay. All right. So let's walk through that a little bit. How we know that? Well, Anu and Patrick, this conversation that they end up having. Okay, let's have a look at this quickly.
That held us back.
Tune with what we wanted for the future, for our kids, for ourselves, for others, how we want to live in the world, how we want to give to the world.
Yeah, you were all aligned, apart from the fact your faith wasn't aligned. Right? You were all aligned until your faith was not aligned. And so actually he did you a favor. Now, I don't agree with him. I mean, listen, if, you know, again, I don't think he should have chosen you either, because you guys were not of the same faith. But from a Christian perspective, the onus is on you. You were not aligned in that space. And what would have ended up happening was this would have caused you guys to split. Eventually, it would have caused you to split. So I'm glad it didn't go any further. What is important, though, is that anybody here watching this, do not self-betray yourself. Okay, do not self-abandon by choosing somebody who doesn't align with you, because it will be the very same thing that will derail you in future. Okay, all right. So it's important. Okay. Someone said Patrick's a cult leader or member. Is he? I don't know. I don't know if he is. Maybe he is. I don't know. Okay. But what's also important is this. This was actually intriguing. Listen to this.
Give to the world, but obviously it wasn't reciprocated. I didn't think this would be the outcome.
I just feel so bad for that, like so bad.
Was she expecting a proposal, do you think?
Yeah.
Was
Really?
she?
I think so. I think she was. She wrote me a song, man.
Nah, that's cheeky. See, that part was cheeky, because she didn't just write you a song. As much as I do believe that she wrote a song, she did. It's cheeky that you think that it's very cheeky, because when he said that she wrote him a song, are you forgetting that you asked her twice? Are you forgetting that you asked her twice? Let's not do that. Let's not you know, let's not pretend as if we don't know that we were begging her to do it. I wouldn't say begging, but we asked her, and we were sounding like we're very sad that she hadn't wrote one. So let's not do it like, oh, she wrote me a song. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, let's not do that, because that sounds like she just came out and wrote a song, and you know, you just literally got thrown into it. And I'm like, that's not what happened. So I thought that was a little bit cheeky that he said that, and I think that also showed a little bit of his perspective, the ego. Because, oh, she wrote me a song. She didn't write your song. You know, you asked her for that. Okay. That was interesting as well.
Marriage for me is the ultimate. That is the highest of the highs. But if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't feel good, then there's nothing I can do. And I wish her all the best in the future and in all her endeavors and positive energy.
Well, it looks like they're not going to be together. So we'll leave them alone, you know, and we'll let them be involved in it as well. All right. So we'll let them do their thing. But we're glad that Anu has got out of there. She has to learn a lesson. I think she needs to analyze this, go back to basics, and ask herself the key question: why was I so willing to marry a man who did not carry my same ideals? I think she needs to question, how can we have the same ideals? What is it about my faith and where I'm at the moment with my faith that was aligning with somebody who doesn't align with that? Okay, cool. Next thing. Okay, let's do the next couple we're going to do. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, Karl and Sarova. Okay, because this is interesting. I hope I spelled her name right, but I probably spelled it wrong, knowing me. Karl and Sarova, let's talk a little bit about them. Karl and Sarova, because, you know, they obviously came together. We saw them come together, and I can't lie to you, the energy was good, you know. Karl and Sarova, the energy was seemingly good. So it's intriguing to see that perspective. Now I want to get a little bit of a clip from this situation, because Olga was tripping. Okay, here we go. Let's get this little clip here.
I'm such a guarded person, so guarded to the point like I've had comments before. It's like, I don't know where I stand with you, or I don't know where your head's at. Then I bring things up, and I feel like you almost self-sabotage.
Be open.
Now, shout out to Ashley because she was actually speaking sense to her, like be open, stay that place, make sure you're still able to communicate with him, let him know about your insecurity so that you can start to really open up. I actually like that. Okay, I really do. I really do like that. I think it was a very strong perspective by Ashley to speak life into her at that moment. But what's the issue with Sarova and Karl? Well, the issue with Sarova and Karl is, the first and foremost, Karl's a very handsome man. Okay, she's a pretty girl too. He's a very handsome man, and for her, she said that she's a very guarded person. Now, people that are usually guarded, they really do need people to have a bit more patience and being consistent. I don't think Karl has been, someone who's necessarily looking away from, done anything to make her feel insecure. It's simply just that it doesn't feel like she's worthy, right? Because there's nothing he's done at this stage and point in time, apart from the fact that she knows he likes blondes, or his preference is blondes, and he hasn't gone for blondes, gone for you. But other than that, that's the only reason why she feels some level of insecurity, and they've spoken about it. So I think there's going to be a need for more deeper conversations. I hope that they spend more time talking than having sex. Let me just say what I mean by this. Like, they need a few more conversations. Remember, I told you guys a couple of episodes ago, I said their biggest thing is it's going to be us, them against the world. Both of your worlds have cultural backgrounds that are very strong and have their own opinions. And so actually, that's going to be a very difficult space to navigate. That requires you guys to be fully involved with each other, and fully involved where you guys are spending time with each other, that you know each other inside out, to a point where you can cover each other. That's going to be really difficult. Okay. And so in that particular space, it's tough. You get me? In that particular space, it's gonna be tough. So, I think for Karl and Sarova, focus more on building a deeper, profound connection. Focus on having conversations about your vision, where you feel like you're going. Align yourselves together. Yes, build that trust, because if you don't, it's going to be very difficult, right? Going forward, it's going to be very difficult and very hard, because in honesty, reality, the situation that they're facing, we're seeing how you're already starting to see some cracks coming through in terms of her insecurity. He can only cover what he knows. Okay? He can only cover what he knows. Now, it was interesting because I don't know if it was on purposely done or whether it was by mistake, but he was talking to Barda, and
I know the way he looks at me.
Oh, come on, love. Where are we going? Am I leaving you?
No,
you should
stay
stay
here.
Oh, okay.
I hope it's more in my head, and it's a me problem that I need to work on.
Now, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When she did that, I said, oh. Oh. So I said, because, it's not a beef. It's just something I noticed. She went and perched herself right in between. And that's why, yes, Barda definitely clocked it, because why perch yourself right in between? Why not go and sit on his left-hand side? Why not go and sit aside the girl? Do you know what I'm saying to you? Okay, right? So it's important, I thought to myself, that, listen, take your time with it, babe. Like, there's no rush. Like, focus on, and see, that's what I'm saying to you. Focus more on having a conversation than just acting. The acting creates more damage. So focus more on having conversation and building understanding. Okay? Focus on that aspect. Because if you don't, right, you'll be ruined. Because like I said, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. So this was a little moment of insecurity. I understood it. I get it. She wanted to just mark her territory a little bit because the old girl's blonde. I get it. It happens to the best of us. You know what I mean? So I'm not judging her. It's it's a reaction she had because she felt some type of way. The question, that's a good question. Does Bada like Karl? We don't know. We don't know. Karl's a hot guy, you know. I mean, if you put him and Jed together, you know, Karl over Jed in terms of looks, I can see it. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, it could be tough. You feel what I'm saying to you? It could be tough. But I don't think, you know, that is the one necessarily that she's going to go after Karl. I don't see Bada doing that. She's in love with Karl, with Jed. He loves her. I don't really see her going away from that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but just back to what I was saying about Sarova and Karl. Question obviously you guys asked was, did he need to tell her? I don't know what the context of that conversation is as to how it came out. Okay, so I'm not going to say yes or no. I don't have the context of how that conversation came out. We just saw them in the pool talking, and that conversation about their likes versus their preferences actually came out, and it was an over talking. But I'm not sure if that conversation was necessary or not, just because of the way it came out. Let's have a look.
To meet all the other couples. I tell you who I want to see more.
With Mona.
Hold on.
I don't know if I only know her side.
I need clarity.
We'll see what happens.
God, that wasn't us though.
No, I'm so not.
I'll get to that in the conversation. And also, I don't know if they force fed that conversation as well. I was like, damn, why do they force? Why do they feel like they forced that conversation about Damola and Katisha? Like, I know that he wants to see them, but I was like, was that a natural conversation that they actually wanted to have? You know what I mean? Yeah. Moondust Angel said he wouldn't be there if his usual type worked out for him. Let's not lie. Well, I think that's everybody. I mean, if you actually had your actual type, maybe you wouldn't necessarily be there. I mean, again, I'm also very cautious. If he says it's not his natural type, I agree. I don't like that statement. You know what I mean? The usual type thing, I don't like it. I personally don't like it. You know what I'm saying to you? So I do understand what you're saying. I can understand that. I don't like the it's not my preference, not my usual preference, it's not my usual type. I don't like those statements because they usually come right before the person says they're not attracted. You know what I mean? So I could also understand that too. You know what I mean? So I'll concede that aspect of it with Karl and Sarova as well. Okay, let's quickly jump into Kieran and Megan. I won't talk too long about them because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Kieran and Megan will actually, I like them. I like Kieran and Megan. They're do you know what it is? Kieran and Megan are just two good-looking people, bro. Like, to me anyway. I just think to myself, like, when I look at Kieran and Megan, I just think to myself, they're just two good-looking people, you know, and they look aesthetically pleasing and they look symmetrical in their like, you know, they're in their looks. Like, they both look like they could be models. You know what I mean? So for me, looking at Kieran and Megan, I'm like, I just like seeing them on my screen. I love the fact that he made a comment as well about the fact that he's the first time he looked over at the bar from her, and he said she's just hot, and I loved it. I said it's nice. Of course, look, the emotional aspect is good, but the physical attraction too, it just helps to put a little je ne sais quoi on top. Okay. Yeah, and they both do seem very down to earth. Yes, Annie, absolutely correct. I definitely see that as well. I can definitely work with that as well. You know, I definitely see that in that particular aspect. They definitely are down to earth. And you know, when he came out and she came out, and you know, the way they hugged each other and they saw each other and they kissed each other, I was like, okay. This is something, you know. Yeah, they look like two little models. I can't lie to two tall models.
Engagement.
Yes, obviously, yes.
I'm shaking.
Yeah, they do like two little models. Now, I just hope we've got 4. I'm guessing we're gonna have 4 more episodes after this. I just hope that insecurity on both ends does not destroy them. That's my only thing. I just hope insecurity doesn't destroy them. But on this, when they went away with the rest of the group, they seemed cool. You know, they're at the point of saying I love you as well. I was like, look, I think they're gonna be fine. Let's just hope that nothing crazy happens. Someone said that Kieran didn't propose on his knee. When? I thought he got on his knee. He did get on his knee. He got on his knee. Yeah, he proposed on his knee. He was on his knee.
Accepting this ring to mark our
Yeah, he's on his knee here. Here. On his knee.
Yes,
obviously, yes.
I'm shaking.
Well, are you talking about when he was in the pods? To be fair, that's a pods, isn't it? Yeah, he did say that he only does it once. He wants to do it in front of her personally and stuff, so he will get there. Megan and him haven't said I love you. Sorry, I apologize. They said they want to take it slowly and get there. She's fallen in love though. She says she's fallen in love. So yeah, she's fallen in love in that respect. So that was cool as well. Okay, cool. Really quickly, let me get my other couple. Let me quickly talk about the love triangle and then get some people on to give their opinions about what was happening. So let's quickly just talk about this Javen, Katisha, and then get some people out, because this was my boy Demola. I mean, you know what? Maturity is a beautiful thing, because I would have crashed out. Maybe not. I'm not cussing anybody out, but I would have crashed out. You know, I can't lie to you, because what happened in 24 hours and less, I'd have crashed out. I can't lie to you. Yeah. So shout out to D, because the maturity that he showed about even saying let's celebrate the engagement. Yeah, I don't know if I would have that confidence to be able to say let's celebrate that engagement. I might say F that engagement and F you. You know? So I might have crashed out a little bit. I'm not saying I'm trying to fight for, I'm just saying I might have crashed out a little bit. You hear me? Yeah, it's definitely, you're saying take a touch, my touch would have been heavy. Okay, touch would have been the ball would have gone right ahead of myself. You know what I'm saying to you? So shooting that ball into stands.
So obviously I've just really enjoyed getting to know you and spending time with you, and we do get on so well. As you know, I'd have another connection.
Yeah. All I'm going to say, because I want to get the panelist idea on this, right? What I'd say about this, because I've said pretty much everything I want to say in the last few episodes, and nothing's going to change. Okay. Look, the situation was Javen just has a little bit more of that je ne sais quoi. Okay, he's got a little bit of roughness to him, an edge. Have you noticed that she keeps on saying two things? He's Mr. Cool. Okay. And there was another thing that he said. He said, I'm trying to remember the two words. She also uses two words about him being cool, and then something about what he said. I can't remember. Mysterious. Is it mysterious that she said? I think it might be that one, right? But she said I can't remember the two words. She said those two words, whatever. And I said, okay, so with Javen, he makes her nervous. Demola does not make her nervous. Not in the same way. The difference is she feels nervous about breaking Demi rather than Javen, who will break her. Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. It's a different type of breaking out here. You hear me? Now, with Javen, if you notice, he actually, honestly, sat back. That brother didn't even have a speech ready. See, when I say to you, yeah, that honestly, some of us are struggling for gal and struggling for man. The man that likes you, you don't have to work for. And the girl that likes you, you don't have to work for. If you're having to work, it's not the one, bro. Okay, that's probably like 90% of truth. You know what I mean? There's a 10%. There's always an exception to the rule. But the reality is, the one that likes you, you don't struggle for. This man did bare minimum. Bare minimum. Okay? Bare minimum. Brother didn't even have a speech ready. He didn't have no gifts. Okay? He had lack of notes. All right? All he produced and gave her, okay, was a little tiki-taka with a little bit of Spanish and Jamaican, and old girl was sold to Spanish Town. Bro, that was it. So much so that she was waiting to the end. In fact, you want to smell that? It smells like shit. You know what that is? It smells like shit. Let me tell you why. How can a brother say, I only now, when she comes back, when she decides to propose to me, then I can think about it. And she went and did it. My God. Where's your shame in your class, darling? A whole man said to you, you proposed to me. And that's when you grovel to that. And that should let you know. Of course, we've all been there. Listen, we've all done some stupid stuff. We've all done some stupid stuff. We've all put ourselves in a position where we've not recognized our value when we dated somebody. But I'm going to be honest with you. When the man said, "You got proposed to me," and she said, "You know, I heard you. I'm gonna propose to you." I said, "You must be mad." Now, what I will say is the situation where even when they were revealing to each other, okay, that man said, as it was, "Do you want to leave with me or go in the shower?" I said, even here, man can't stop talking about sex. Sexual innuendo, even there. I said, oh no. This brother, once he gets one or 2 years of sex from you, you're going to ask this question, why does he hate me? Why doesn't he like me? Well, babe, he doesn't like anything about you apart from sexing you. And then they'll come onto to TikTok and tell us a story about how men are trash. Meanwhile, you're picking trash people. Now, we have to acknowledge that. Can we just be honest with that? Because a lot of times they do be talking about men are trash, and you're right, men are. But if you be choosing trash men, you need to be accountable. I'm sorry. You need to be accountable. We can't be putting this on every man every single time. They are trash. We hear it. But baby girl, this situation, you had a choice. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get some people up on here. And like I said, I don't want to talk too deep. You know, we've got plenty of time to do that probably next week for when the other episodes come out. But baby, it's gonna be interesting. Those of you in the chat, if you're not a member, it's about to go members only. Yes, it means you can watch, but you can't comment. Okay, so if you haven't already become a member, it's £1, $1. I've made it cheap so you don't suffer. Okay, all right. So if you've not become a member, make sure you do, because it's about to be members only in the chat. Okay, and that means you won't be able to talk. 3, 2, 1. It's members only. Okay, you've been warned, and now the time has come. Thank you. All right, cool. I'm going to bring on some people just to have a bit of a conversation around this particular issue as well, because this particular 4 episodes have been intriguing. So we're going to get Super Panel on and get as well. All right. So I appreciate you guys. If you're here, I appreciate you. If you want to join the conversation, there is a link in the chat for you. Go ahead and join the conversation. All right. I've got El Cid and I've got Annie as well with me today. So we're going to have one of those great conversations as well. I think we're going to get a good in-depth perspective going on. How's everybody doing though?
All good, all good. How you doing?
I'm good, Annie, man. It's good to see you, bro. I know it was meant to be on the Love is Blind US. You know what I mean? It's been a long minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. I should have joined that other ones, but got me here now finally.
It's all good, bro. It's all good. It's all good. Elsa, good to have you as well on board. And I know you got to go soon, so that's no problem at all. Don't worry about that. Let me ask a question. Okay, let's talk about the main one here quickly then, because the main one is the love triangle. So let's get straight into that, because that's the one that people want to talk about. That's the one that was obviously causing issues. That's the one that people were stressed about. Annie, talk to me real quick, bro. Seeing the love triangle develop over the 4 episodes, which obviously our good sis Katisha said it wasn't a love triangle, actually. She said it wasn't at the end. So I want to know your perspective. How did you view Katisha and her love triangle?
It was always going to play out this way. I saw it from the beginning. I was actually talking to my missus. I was like, she's gonna deliberate, then pick Javon. And you did a breakdown of it on the previous live, and you basically spelled it out pretty much. It's like, you know, I know you always use theories. Like, I think it's that dark triad thing. Javon is like aloof and doesn't really put much effort in, and Demola. The thing is, I can personality wise, I'm probably more like Demola, but I'm self-aware enough to know how to behave like Javon when the time is right. Because the Demola person, he's got good intentions, good heart, and all that stuff. But that's not enough if you haven't got a little bit of sauce. You just need to have at least a little bit. And he wasn't showing any sauce. He was too forthcoming, and he laid all his cards down too early. And as much as we say dating isn't a game, there's still a little bit of a cat and mouse that goes involved in the game. And obviously, Katisha, we can see that I also don't want to say this, but once you heard the name, you heard the accent, and you heard where she was from, they'd already created the character in the head of who she was, and she looks who they thought she was. And that's when they were like, I think even though Love is Blind, they'd already envisioned what she looked like, and that's where the competition starts. So it was they'd already seen the type of woman that she would be, so they were competing against her. But Javon, he's so laid back and unassuming that it was his to lose, as far as I'm concerned. I think Demola was too forward, and she started stepping back because she started getting an ick because he was too forward. If he'd shown a little bit more restraint, but put his cards on the table, but showing a little bit more restraint, he probably would have won it.
I hear you on that. Sid, you disagree?
I disagree on the ick part, but I could see what he's saying. Katisha couldn't even take a compliment from Bardha. Bardha was telling her, "You are amazing. Why wouldn't he?" And she starts bawling again. So did she have an ick with Bardha? I mean, she has something with compliments that she is not comfortable with, or someone seeing her in a positive light. Because I would have agreed with you, except for if we didn't see what was happening in the ladies' lounge. She doesn't recognize, or she doesn't see herself the way others see her in a positive light. And if she can't see it, she's not going to see the positive person trying to come into her life. And, I was, unfortunately, unpopular opinion, I was glad she said no to Demola. So glad. Because he would have had his villain story, the Javin story of giving 100% and the other person not giving their all. So that whole triangle, I didn't see her emote for Demola when he was talking about the Passium's grandma. Some of the things he was talking emotionally, she was silent. She would put her hand over her heart. We would see it. He can't see that. So again, he would emote verbally and she would emote for us. And I was like, girl, he can't hear you. You need to speak. And I agree with you with the cat and mouse games, but it's the assumption that we come to the pods not to play games. We're here to get married. We're here for a future, but it is still, an assumption. But I get the cat and mouse, the pull and tug, the whatever it is, but you still got to be able to see what's in front of you, at least hear it.
I definitely hear you on that. Yes, go for it, Annie.
And Demola, man, stop begging. I was cringing when it got to a point where he was almost like pleading his case, and I was just like, have some, like, one thing Javon was gonna do, whether he got picked or not, he was just like, I know who I am. Are you gonna pick me? Are you not? That's up to you. That's your loss. And I wish that Demola had a little bit of that spirit as well, but he was pitching himself a bit too much. And I was just like, the more you pitch yourself, the more she was like, nah. Do you know what I mean? If you don't value yourself, maybe I shouldn't as well.
It's a good point. Can't lie to you. It's a good point. Life of realities. We're talking Javan, Katisha D, because I can't say his name correct. So tell me, what your thoughts are on that love triangle?
Demola.
Yeah, I thought she was going to pick Demola. To be honest, Javon wasn't intimidated. You can tell by what he was saying to the guys. I think one of the conversations he said, it was obviously love bombing that Demola was doing, pouring it on too thick. And I think she made the wrong choice. I think Demola would have probably been the better partner for her. Just because he came across as just a nice guy, forward and direct. And I don't think she appreciated him because she probably felt he was too nice. And there's some mystery with Javon. The way he was holding his cards to his chest, maybe there's not much to him. Maybe he's just not that expressive. But I think she was for some reason attracted to that. Maybe that's the usual type she goes for, that type of guy where there's some mystery or whatever. But yeah, I think Demola was probably the right choice.
So obviously, Annie, you kind of mentioned this, but I don't know if you guys can expand on this, because usually, I tell the ladies they go be accountable, but does Demola need to be accountable? Because I've been in a situation like this, right? I've been in a situation like this, so I know you get caught up, you do feel that person a lot. Also, because the person's not reciprocating the same energy you are. That's actually the triangle is actually really interesting, because the very thing that was happening to D is the same thing that was happening to her with Javon. Because Javon was deciding that he's going to pull away, she pulled up towards him. But then as she pulled away, he's pulling up to that D's pulling up to her. So it's really intriguing to see that line of thing happen, which actually happens a lot in the real world, right? You like somebody, but they don't like you, and then someone likes you, but you don't like them, and it's this long train of people liking people that don't like the other person. But why do we think, if we're going to think that, and you can disagree, why do we think that he would have to be a bit more accountable in the sense of the way that he approached the situation? Because, we're saying obviously that, you know, oh, he was professing too much. Isn't that why? What's wrong with him professing that way? You know what I mean? Like, go for any.
As we're talking, I've actually seen some parallels between Demola and Anu, in that they were so stuck in their own like narrative that they didn't take their head out of water to see how the other person was, how receptive the other person was to what they were saying or doing. So like, remember when Anu went into the room and she was like, oh yeah, it all went well, and then she didn't know that Patrick wasn't feeling her for time. And I think the same thing with Demola, where Katisha was feeling him at the beginning, but then he didn't see where like he, you know, like there's once you don't see anything, it's all hearing and intonation, and there was times where you could tell where she was like kind of pulling away, but he was just like, okay, stick to the script, show her how much you care, keep on monologuing about how affectionate and how in touch with your feelings, and how he stuck to the script, but he wasn't putting his head out of water to see how receptive she was to what you're saying. As you mentioned before, when he spoke about his grandma, I think El Cid spoke about when he spoke about his grandma, and he started crying, and she was just like, she didn't really say much. Someone that is a bit more emotionally tension would have been like, rah, like, I just pull my heart out and you just give me one word answers. What's this about? But he was so on like, let me stick to the script, I'm winning her over, that he didn't think to look up to see how is what I'm saying being received by the other person, so I know if they're really into this as well. And I think Anu was doing the same. So that's where he should be accountable.
Go for Life of Reality, and I'll get
yeah,
respond.
I would agree with that as well. I think, you know, I don't necessarily go with the script part. I think he was just too wrapped up in trying to win her over. And for the most part, it seemed like he was. All her answers that she did give were positive and as if they were going to make it to the end and choose each other. In that small 24-hour period, she obviously changed her mind. So he's probably sitting there thinking, where did I go wrong? Like, I didn't receive any signals to say that, you know, you weren't actually interested in me like that. I think he just probably was more attracted to her than she was to him. And I think it's the mystery of Javon and the confidence of Javon as well, that like eventually won him the opportunity.
Definitely hear you. El Cid?
So, gentlemen, what are we saying? That a man should not put his cards on the table and let a woman knows how he feels? Are we saying that he should not be transparent and honest about his intentions and where he wishes to go in a relationship? What are we saying? Because the whole accountable thing, again, we are trying to make the ladies pick better, but now we have a man that is doing better and we're telling him, reel it back. I'm a little confused.
No, I'm not saying reel it back. I think the problem is she wasn't reciprocating what he was putting out there like that. It seems as if she was, but he's just not the type of guy that she sees herself with because of how Javon is. There's something about Javon that made her, despite Demola being vulnerable, open, forward, you know, professing how he sees them progressing. You know, there's something about that made it probably feel like too easy and like he was laying it on too thick. So I don't think Demola was wrong in his approach at all. But the bottom line is it didn't work. He just has to continue to be himself with the next person. And we do see from the clips, when they do eventually see each other, man, looks like there's going to be a connection there anyway. I hope he chooses not to be second place, because we did see that with Benaya before. I hope he respects himself and says, you know what, like, you chose Javon over me. It just wasn't meant to be. But I don't think he should change anything he did. It just wasn't reciprocated or received in the way that it should have been, because she's just not the right person for him. She wants someone else.
But she accepted and said it was them. So how would he feel that it wasn't reciprocated if she said, it's you and me until the end, and I'm not going to change my mind?
Because she ultimately did change her mind. That's the fact. She was, I wouldn't say she was leading him on, I think she was probably in a tough situation where she was asked to choose between two guys in a short space of time. You know, for it was probably 10 days that they were all talking in the pods, and very condensed for us to view it. But ultimately, you know, she was in a sticky situation, and she went with what she usually goes for, which is more familiar, rather than being with someone that is going to take her out of her comfort zone, someone that's going to compliment her and appreciate her and all these things. I don't think she's used to that type of expressive guy in that way.
And let's be real, she's just wishy-washy. Let's be real. Like, at the end of the day, she affirmed him all the way to the end. And when she got into that room with Javon, and then he said, "Oh, do you want to leave?" He's like, "No, I'm just drink my drink." She's like, "I'm going to stay as well." I was like, "It's done." She's like, basically, when she decided to stay in that room as well, I was like, she's basically saying, I'm trying to convince myself to. So she's just a wishy-washy person. And I think it's better to find out now than later down the line, because that's just a character flaw that she has, where she says something and then she does something else based on impulsive emotions and stuff like that. And so, as you said, Demola may not have done much wrong, but Elsid, I know you mentioned, we're telling women to choose better and stuff like that. And unfortunately, like, even to my friends, I'd say that sometimes you want to, the advice you want to give based on what the world you want to be, but there's the advice that you give your friends based on what the world is. So if I've got a friend that is a little bit nerdier but got a heart of gold, and I've got a friend that is a bit saucier but he's got bad intentions, we all know who's going to get more women. So I would tell the nerdier friend, hey, I'm not saying adopt his traits, like as in his character traits, but you need to adopt some of his, like, I don't know how to describe it. There's things that you need to adopt from that other guy that would open your pool of opportunities. Don't adopt any of his character traits, because your character traits are fine, but there's stuff you can learn from the Javons of the world. Do you know what I'm saying? Even as a demoler.
I can understand that, but my thing is they don't need to be fishing in the same pond at all. So the ladies that Javon is attracting, wherever they are, Demola needs to not be there.
But then that also speaks to, and you're right, that speaks to the demolers of the world. And I know a lot of these type of guys where they're trying to go for the baddies, and I was like, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you doing? There's a nice girl somewhere that is maybe not a baddie, but she's a good-looking girl, and she's quite she's got the right temperament, the right personality, no emotional scars. It doesn't even like the thought of dating a guy that's arrogant and a bit more like showboaty and stuff like that. That actually, she disgusts her. There's girls out there, and that's who Demola should be going for. But I'm guessing he's like, that girl's all right, but I really want the baddie, and the baddie don't want me, but I'm gonna still go for her. So then he's doing it to himself.
But let's not make Demola into too much of a saint, because when we first met him, he also was talking to Men's Lounge that, the only thing about this is he can't be flirty like he usually is. So when we first saw him, he was talking about, hey, I can't flirt. I can't really flirt in this type of environment. So I'm not going to paint him to be a saint.
Nah, you got to take what guys say remember, you're in the men's quarters, and guys gas it up when they're talking to their friends. It's like you get to, the problem with this show is that you get to see the guys when they're in the company of other men just having their talk, and then you get to see them in, like, it's almost like you get to see your friends texting his missus with the hearts and kisses and googly eyes. Then you get to see him talking to his boys. And it's like there's a dichotomy in how you communicate in both ways. That they're both still the same person, but you maybe be talking differently. But that doesn't mean you're a bad person, because do you get what I'm trying to say? The fellas showed they were Team Demola and not Javan. They were not feeling him. Only Jed is the only one who chuckled at his whole, love bombing, but nobody was laughing with him when he said women don't know what they want. Demola had to bring the men to celebrate the engagement right. I was like, y'all don't like this man. Yeah. And there has to be some level of, the men didn't hold Javon accountable, but then again, they don't know him apart from 10 days. But they were recognizing Demola was on the right path of being there, trying to be a husband. Because, Javon wants to be married just so he could live longer. Remember?
Yeah, no, that's true. And if we look at what Cal said Like, because Karl, he sat down with her and with Katisha, and you know, he was subtly saying to her, listen, like, I don't know what made you choose Javon, but you chose him over Damola? What is wrong with you? That's what he was saying to her, but without saying. And that's why she was kind of like treating it as, are you questioning my decision? You're interrogating me. Listen, I made the right choice. And Karl was just like Kojo said earlier, like, nah, man, that's not like some bullshit. Because he was right there for you the whole time, believing that you had that connection. So what went wrong? What, like, in the men's lounge, they've seen Javon and they've heard what he said. And Karl cannot compute, like, this dude over Damola? Damola looks like he wears his heart on his sleeve and he would have been down for you. And that would have been a better connection for you. And the thing about the baddie aspect or whatever, I don't think Damola was talking to Katisha like she was a baddie and she was out of his league. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. And I don't think Katisha even portrayed herself to be that like that either. It just seemed like two genuine people coming together. But what it revealed is that Katisha has a particular type of guy that she likes. And rather than choose something different, someone different that probably would have worked out well for her, she panicked. She was just like, you know what? No, it may be too good to be true. I've never had this type of affirmation before. I've never had this type of feeling, someone pour into me like this before. So I'm going to go with what I know. And I'm going to stick on my decision because that's where I find comfort. That's what I got from Katisha. But listen, from when the dudes are basically saying, you know, Damola he brought everything that you needed and you made the wrong choice. That's what they're saying to us.
The thing is, as well, you know, if she was listening, because in this case, it seemed like, you know, she was the one trying to get the baddie that she thought was Javon. But the thing is that she didn't listen. You know, she heard Damola giving her everything, but she didn't listen. Javon said nothing about future, nothing about you being my wife, nothing at all. And yet she still chose to be with him.
Mm-hmm.
It to me, it baffles the mind because he told her, I don't do grand gestures. I don't do. He was very forward in being honest with her. If you're looking for romance, this ain't it. And so again, does she not want romance? Does she not think she deserves it? What is it exactly that she wants? Does she want a Javon because she thinks it will keep her stock at the right market and Damola may reduce her stock? I don't know. But again, we are listening, and yes, it's 10 days. Yes, it's an edited show. But the crumbs that we heard, all it takes is a check, 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 and finish my drink. The bar is in hell.
And that's over being gifted flowers. Remember when he got her the flowers? She was like, you know, she was really taken aback by that. We look at what Javon did. If we're to compare the effort that Damola put in to try and get this relationship and Javon, it's without question, we would all, I assume we would all say, listen, Damola did really put everything out there to try and get it. It just didn't work out. So I hope he's just not too dejected and tries to, I don't think he should adopt Javon type mentality. Because
no, not mentality.
No.
You're not trying to say that. Yeah.
I don't think he should take anything from the person that he lost out to.
Okay, yeah. The first thing that she said when they met was, "You're kind of quiet. Speak up." There's little things. Okay, what about projecting your voice? What about not sitting with a slouch? What about, like, do you know what I mean? There's certain things you can take. Let's be real. I'm not talking about characteristics. I made that clear. I'm talking about how you present yourself. Ask 9 times out of 10 women, like the body posture, the way you speak, the way you project your voice, the show of confidence. Confidence doesn't negate. He's got the good character, everything. Just shoulders back, head up. Do you know what I mean?
You can't see that behind the screen, though. You can't see that behind the screen.
You can hear it. She can hear it.
But, okay.
She can hear it.
Y'all are around men as well. There are men that are either soft-spoken or don't speak at all, that have presence. You know, just because he can be loud or project does not mean that his personality is not there. Again.
As a man, I'm telling you, we've all got friends that are soft spoken, yes, but it's obviously it's not an apples and pears thing. We all know soft spoken guys that still got commanding presence. I'm just saying, there's ways you present yourself without having to forego your character that will still get you the results you want. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying adopt Javon's personality. I say adopt his assertiveness. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And also, and also,
I get it.
Yeah.
I still feel like Demola was assertive. I just think the way that he did it was too romantic. It was maybe something that was just too forward for what she was comfortable with at the stage that they know each other. That's the only thing I can think of that would have scared her.
So one more thing. There's also a saying, do you know that people say this online, saying how it's a joke, but there's some truth to it, where they say, if as a guy you're dating a girl and she says, you're the first guy to ever treat me this well, you should run. Because that means that she's been treating like nonsense by all the guys before her, and you treating her well is going to be like she doesn't know how to deal with it. And I felt like she was an embodiment of that saying, where Demola was giving her flowers and she didn't know how to react to it. Everything that a healed woman would have liked, she was getting bamboo. She was getting feeling. She lost her head when someone did this for her. But someone that's a healed woman would.
And we know it's deeply rooted because, as I said, Bardha's compliment to her in the ladies' lounge also sent her over the edge. So it's not just in romantic relations, it's also woman to woman. She is not seeing and believing the compliments, and it just takes her over an emotional edge. I don't think she should have been on the show, quite frankly. And definitely not Javan, because he didn't even prepare a suit to meet anybody on reveal.
Now he thought he was going home. He thought he was going home the day before.
No, but even in packing to get there, did he not pack a suit?
Nah.
So he did not come prepared to propose to anybody. I think she was hitching her wagon to whoever was going to get her to the next phase, and if it was her preference or not, she was going to choose a man to go through with.
It's interesting that I think the Damola situation versus Javan is actually quite interesting. There is things that I think D can learn. I think he over-delivered. And it's going to sound wild, but when I look at D, it's not his quietness that's the issue. It's that as you said, Elsa, as well, the presence doesn't come through. Like when you're watching D, do you feel like he's commanding? No one does.
No.
Let's be honest. We're not gonna lie. We don't feel like he's commanding, right? And that's not because his voice is quiet. It's because his presence is not commanding. It's a very soft presence, which can work for some people. I'm not gonna say it won't work. It will work for some women. There's a lot of women who want that softer presence in their life, and they'll tell you they're going specifically for that. So it's not to say there's no market for it. Unfortunately, in this situation, and I've been there. That's what I'm saying. I know I've been there, where it's like D's excitement about bagging her told us that he's never reached that level before. That's what it sounds like. I'm not saying he hasn't. Like, D doesn't need to be Javon. He doesn't need to be him, but he needs to act like he's been there before. Javon acts like he's been there before. And that's what made her attracted to him, is that he made it as if, and this is part of the psychology of attraction that can happen between people, and it's a very dark thing. In fact, Red Pill talk about it a lot, and people don't like talking about it, but it's actually real, okay? Because if I talk to you, and I'm like, no, you're cool, I'm indifferent towards you. I'll still talk to you, but I'm indifferent. That creates a perspective that I'm above you. So now when you're looking like, why does he feel like he's above me? It's like, what's going on here? Why? But with D, he made it almost as if she's the catch. And therefore, with her trauma, that immediately was like, oh, she's like, oh. Now, there are things that she needs to work on, because really and truly, has she been healed, should have been able to say, listen, hey, D, I think you're going a little bit too fast. Slow it down. Get to know me a little bit more. Let me bring more of myself to the situation, because I know you like me already, right? But you don't really know me as well in that depth. So let me get there. You know what I mean? She been more healed. She could have taken command of that conversation a bit more and brought herself in, but she wasn't that in that place. So what ended up happening is that her and Javen are actually, I think Elsa and Ron as well. They're the same people. They are the same people, because the lack of giving from Javen is a lack of what she was given actually to D. Because I know she gave him that assurance at the very end, but during the actual procession of the pods we were seeing, her responses weren't necessarily in alignment with what he was sharing. A lot of times, even her enthusiasm wasn't as intense. So you can see that actually, and this is where he will learn once he has enough experience. And most of us learn when we get to that age, we start actually reading people's energy and going, actually, hold on, partner brace a little bit. I'm excited about what I'm seeing, but I can see it doesn't sound like you're actually excited. I got to ask more questions. Where are you? What are you feeling? What's going on? I see that you got another connection. I know you got another connection. Okay, I need to ask, where are you with that connection? Where are we? And then at that point, sometimes you have to make you might have to make a decision on the spot by maybe the third episode. Of course, again, we know that's not how they do things, but by the third episode, you're like, actually, it feels like I'm not really there. And that's where Sophie, as much as I don't like everything that Sophie did, Sophie said, you're not validated to me. I'm gonna tell you now, it ain't gonna be me. I'm gonna be out them doors. Now, can she do a bit better? Yes. Is it the right way to go about it? No, all the way. No, she needs to find balance. But one thing you ain't gonna do, Sophie, is you ain't gonna play her. And one thing about Sophie is she ain't gonna have a short line of men after her, because that ability to be like, you're not gonna play me, makes us attracted to someone like that, because it feels like she's got boundaries, even though her boundaries are not great. But so I think that's what was the issue of D that he can improve on. But how do you find a round woman? Would have never been an issue, but it's something that you can improve on. Just as like, bro, like, I'm excited. Yeah, I like her, but actually, I'm able just to slow myself down. And that comes through your intonation. That comes through what you're saying. And like I said, I've been there where you're like, I like you. And the girl's like, oh, okay, he likes me. There's a like you and there's a I like you. There's the difference. You know what I'm saying? If I said to you, I like you, I'm saying it short, curt, I like you. Cool. And there's I like you. That's when I'm in deep, and it's too much and it's too quick, it seems like. So I'm not blaming him for her behavior. I'm saying that something that he can improve on in future interactions is you have to pay attention to what's going on in the scenario, and then sometimes you have to adjust a little bit if it's not going. And that's where I think, and you're kind of talking about he paid too much attention to his story, is that you pay too much attention to the fact that you're excited, and you're not paying attention to the fact that this person may not be as excited as you in response to what you're kind of giving. This is something that he can work on. It's not a killer thing. It's just something he can work on. Any last thoughts on the Javon, Katisha, Demola situation before we shift it again?
Yeah, I got a quick question. How, now that everybody's met and we're out the pods, do we think Javon is going to strike up a connection with any of the other ladies?
100%.
Do we think exactly? Do we think
all
that
31
Demola?
flavors.
Do we think Demola would have done that if he was out exposed with all the other people? Do we think, based on what we've seen from Demola, he would strike up a connection with the other ladies?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
not since he committed to her. Now, if we were out in the single realm, yeah, maybe.
Right. We're in the pods here. We're on the show here. Now that they're at the pods, I don't think Demola would do that to her. But I think Javon definitely has a side to him where he would be enticed and attracted to, and probably even move to some of the other ladies. Yeah, he don't care. That's what I'm saying.
Well, you know, he gave the how can I say it, innuendo that the first night was eventful, and most of the other men were like, we're gentlemen, we're not going to talk about it. But Javon was happy to spill all the beans. Okay. And when they say women, you know, men aren't chatty patties, he's definitely one. But at the end of the mixer, if you look at it, if what he's saying is true, they're basically strangers standing next to each other, not holding her hand. We're not even shoulder to shoulder. We're standing at the high table and he's not even looking at her. So if what happened, I would be like, young lady, you definitely are not picking up the signs, even in person. Even in person.
Looks like the connection fizzled. The communication, the conversation just stopped flowing. Looks empty now. Exactly.
All right. Cool. Let's shift it. Obviously, there was another love triangle in the whole entire episode series. There was Sophie, there was Kieran, and there was Megan. I want to get you guys' thoughts on that couple because, again, they were another interesting situation. The British people have been very diplomatic in this season. The triangles are triangling, but without as much veracity as our American counterparts. They're definitely been, how we say, a little bit of decorum. What was your thoughts to Sophie, Kieran, Megan triangle? Who were you supporting? Who were you for? Who were you against? Do you think that Kieran made the right choice in choosing Megan? Was it a violation that Kieran gave a gift to Megan and didn't consult Sophie? I want to get you guys' thoughts. Elsa looks actually ready to go. Elsa, and then Life of Reality. Go for it.
Okay, so based on what we saw, definitely, because Sophie wasn't giving him anything. And I was hoping that Kieran didn't fall into the line of a man that just wants to keep on trying to pick the lock until the door actually opens. He didn't bat an eye when she said they would design a bag she wanted to buy. He didn't say money was his turnoff. But and I blamed production. I thought production placed the Megan date first in order to create strife in the women's lounge when the gift came back. But apparently, according to Sophie, her date was first, and he didn't give her any indication that he had chosen Megan, and that's why she was as mad as she was. Now, if we go back, if you want to pull the clip, because I had to watch it too. Keegan is very technical. That whole gaming structure, his mind is very nerdy and technical. He was stooping when he proposed, and when on the reveal, he did not propose, Kojo. He said, "Please take this ring to mark our engagement." That's not a proposal. Maybe I'm too much of a stickler. Maybe I'm too detail-oriented, but that is not to commemorate a proposal, commemorate the engagement. No, sir. That is not a proposal on a knee. So in technicality, he still hasn't proposed on his knee. I know Life is Reality. We go we go hash it out, but that is not a question. That is, please take this ring for to mark the engagement. So Kieran, Megan, I hope they're going to be fine because she's very, very open and bubbly, and I wonder what happens when the bubbles fizzle. What happens when Megan is mad? What happen? Things like that. I'm like, can he handle or manage? Can she, come down to a level where she can verbally express herself when she is mad? I'm just seeing, when I see a lot of, passion or, as we say it, I just wonder what happens when it isn't a bubbly, happy thing. What happens when it's not? But he seems to really like her. They're on a great path right now that we've seen. But I don't know what Sophie thought that he was going to choose her when she was basically giving very little to help sustain anybody into proposing marriage.
Right. Well, I'm going to say that Kieran definitely made the right choice. No doubt about it. I think that even if things start to dip, it's better to try and work it out with someone who has the personality of Megan rather than a Sophie who comes across as very spoilt, entitled. He doesn't need permission to get a lady a gift. Did Katisha receive permission from Javon to receive gifts from Demola? No. So getting those flowers and the gestures and all those things, if you don't require permission for that. That's just something you do off your own back in the hope of winning over the person you're attracted to. I think there was a lot of jealousy, and that's where the rage came from. She's like, how you getting her something and you didn't get me nothing? Listen, that clearly shows you that the connection he has with her was one that he felt compelled to do that off his own back, right? You didn't get one because your connection isn't as strong. And that's the reality. You don't get mad and storm out and say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to end the connection. You can if you want to, but you just come across a spot. Were you there for the right reasons? Were you treating this more like a contest rather than actually finding a partner to mesh with, gel with, bond with? Yeah. So I think he made the right choice. And with regards to the proposal, listen, he's a tall guy. And we just had Kojo run the clip again. Did you see how low down to the ground he was? So I don't think he was sitting down on his backside. I think he was actually in a kneeling position.
He was kneeling.
And
It's the proposal
yes.
part. What he said.
No. I get it. I get it. You're saying he didn't utter the words, right? He put the ring on the finger and said, listen, you're a stickler. I think that's good enough. He got down on one knee, slipped the ring on the finger and said the equivalent of, you know, let's do this. I like you. Let's make this work. All right. That's good enough for me.
All right. I'm going to say something controversial. While Kieran should have, well, to make his whole life easier, he should have told Sophie, just give her the heads up that he was going to go for the Megan. I'm happy that he didn't. The reason why I'm happy he didn't is because he unintentionally stress tested Sophie. What is this girl like under situations that she like under? Do you know when you stress test something, you put them in a situation that's not favorable to them and see how they react? She lost the cool completely. She was really in her ego, and I always find it very interesting because it goes one or two ways, especially with predominantly the girls in this show. When something like that happens, I've seen it before. When something like that happens, typically the woman will either go, I'm very upset, you hurt my feelings, I'm sad, or she goes, I'm angry, my ego's hurt. Well, she goes for both, guys and girls. Let me not say it's just girls. It's ego or it's hurt my feelings. And she went for the ego thing. So that means she's got more of like her temperament is more aligned with, you disrespected me, I'm angry, rage. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, you picked the right one. Because I don't know what Megan's going to be like in that situation, but I think she goes the other way. I may not be right. I don't know. But from what I've seen, I think Megan goes the other way, where she's a bit more of like a softer person. And also because Sophie's very like ego driven, I think she was more embarrassed than she was hurt, in my opinion. She was like, how could you do this? Everyone was looking at me. The way she was talking about what he did, the implication of how she was going to be viewed, as opposed to how what he did made her feel. And that's kind of telling to where her head's at. She doesn't like embarrassment. Embarrassment's more important to her than her hurt feelings. Obviously, both can be happening, but she spoke about the embarrassment more.
Right. And the thing is, I don't think he set out to embarrass her. It's just how she received it. And all the ladies gathered around Megan when she received the gift. Sophie was there, like brooding and pouting, walking in the background, like sitting down, sulking, looking over. I'm not going to be second best. You know, I never get chosen second. I'm always first. Yeah, she's just riling herself up, right? I don't think he intentionally set out to provoke her like that. But
she also said, she also said, you're gonna be upset when she was basically alluded to the fact that I'm good looking and you made a mistake by not picking me because when you see me, kind of not in those words, but so I think because she's not used to be in a position like this, because normally her looks will get her further than maybe someone, and in her view she thinks I'm above Megan, so how could I have lost to her? When you see me, you'll see what you've lost, kind of thing. And that kind of speaks to the ego as well. Like, I don't lose to people like her. Do you know what I mean?
Very conceited.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. Sometimes your looks don't take you all the way. They just get you in the door. And in this situation, you're behind the screen. He can't see how you look anyway. He's going off personalities and how you make him feel, right? So you lost out to the lady that was more compatible. And how she reacted was just very telling. It was very much sport brat. I get what I want. I never lose. Nah, you win some, you lose some. And you don't spaz out because you lost. You have to just humble yourself and just admit that your connection was not him. It's as simple as that. And then the other thing she tried to do was actually sit down with Megan and say, oh, well, you know what? I swear he's saying the same thing to me as he's saying to you. So it's like you're trying to now ruin their connection because you're so bad mind. No, I'm just happy that he made the right choice. Aesthetically, I think they make a good couple. They look like there is a connection there. So I have no reason to think it wouldn't work. But relationships are full of ups and downs, and you know, hopefully they don't experience too many of those, and they actually work out.
Yeah, what you said is true. Actually, that was quite vindictive what she did. Not trying to go in, because that's what that girl did in the American. Was it Maddie, the one that's on the Perfect Match? She did that to the in the previous season. She lost. She didn't win the guy, so she went and told the other girl and tried to poison the
Madison.
The well. Madison, tried to poison the world. That's very vindictive. And look at Demolai. When he realized he lost, he was like, oh well, shook his hand, and then he told the guys, come, let's celebrate with him.
And again, like I can see in the chat, like, listen, the Mola did not get permission to give flowers or anything like that. His little rap song that he wrote and all these different things that he was doing, he didn't ask for no permission to do that. He just did it off his own back in a bid to try and win her over. And I don't see that Kieran did anything different in that regard. He got the lady a fragrance. He thought it would brighten up her day, cheer her up, win some brownie points, whatever the case may be. But it was a gesture. And that gesture, imagine if he had done the same to both ladies, then we would be on his neck for copy and pasting and giving both ladies the same gift. Or how are you sending mixed messages? It can only be one. Why are you getting both of them a gift? Why are you leading one on? Nah, he had a connection with one that was stronger than the other, and he ended up choosing that stronger connection. That's all I see.
Now he has a bit of an ego too.
He's a man.
Okay, I'm not going to take that excuse. He's a man. Okay, he has a bit of an ego too, because the whole, yeah, bro, that yelling over there, that's for me. That's all me. They're yelling over there because I gave that gift. I was like, Kieran, sit down, please. Oh my word, sit down. You know, but what happens when she is not his cheerleader? Because remember, he wanted someone to be all mothery. He wanted someone to be all overly caring and stuff like that. What happens when she's exhausted from being bubbly and just is not, all over him like that? What happens?
Hey, listen, I mean, I can hear both sides. I'm not gonna box it to one way. Yeah. I think he, because I said he's got the abandonment issues. So, I think if I'm honest with you, I think okay, it's a little bit left field, but I think Sophie triggers him in not in like a bad way, like I say, like, oh my god, like in he's evil. No. Just in a sense of maybe the actions that maybe he took. And I say that to say that if he's somebody he wants someone to be a bit more motherly in their energy, Sophie wasn't it. Like, she wasn't even close to it. You know what I'm saying to you? In every step of the way, he was having to fight to get somewhere. And so Megan kind of giving him all that energy. And again, this is just my theory. I'm not saying this necessarily is I wonder if he kept Sophie around to try and prove something to himself, not necessarily to anybody else, but to himself. Because again, and I'm going to say the same. I think the same thing for her too, because I don't think she actually liked him like that. But I want to focus on Kieran to say that I think because of her cold-heartedness, I should say cold-heartedness, but her colder approach to things, it might have been a remembrance of a rejection, right? And then sometimes instead of actually pushing that thing away, sometimes we draw it in a bit more to try and win our own battle. Not necessarily, it's to prove to yourself sometimes. Like, hey, you know what? If I can get this person to like me, then again, the same thing I said about Katisha, it's like, then I've rewritten history. You know what I mean? Like, in the sense of someone not wanting me and then them wanting me. And the only reason why I say that is because it was when she came in, and of course she came in a little bit like hurricane-y, let's be honest. But when she started saying about the gift situation, his initial response was almost like, bleh. It was like, bro, like, what are you talking about, bro? You know what I mean? But he forgotten that had he forgotten that he had a connection with her, right? It's not like she never said she didn't want him or anything like that. It's not like she was quote unquote being rude. You know, so the bleh response at first was like, okay, why didn't he just acknowledge it and just say, listen, my bad, I got it wrong. Like, I gave a gift to Megan. At that point, I had committed myself to Megan, and I want to just let you know here. Why didn't he just do that? You know what I mean? Because the gift was a move that way. The reason why I said that is because he's the one that had a triangle, not Sophie. So if Sophie had a triangle, then I'd say the same thing. But he had a triangle, which means he now had the responsibility of being able to manage both of those connections that were coming his way. And so I'm saying, as a theory, I'm not gonna say it's all the way, as a theory, maybe her colder approach, almost like materialistic aspect, where she's gonna try, it felt like he's gonna be used. He just got to her first. It was like, you know what I mean? That's a very darker way of looking at it, but it's just something I'm offering to the table. Yes, Annie.
I think that whole Blair response was a byproduct of how she approached her hurt. Do you know, like, if someone does you wrong, if they come to you with, rah, why'd you do that? I thought, like, a softy approach. You feel, sometimes you will feel more ashamed, embarrassed, apologetic. But if they come to you with fire, depending on your personality, you'll be like, you know, yeah, I was gonna feel sorry, but now I'm not. Like, do you know what I mean? So I think it's an approach that made him like, it was like, personally, if Sophie came at me like that, I'd be like, cool, I locked it off anyway. It's good, God riddance. Do you know what I mean? Because of the way she approached it. If she approached it from a different way, then he probably would have been more apologetic and a bit more like somber. But yeah, she didn't even allow for that to happen with the way she came all guns blazing. So
because this date was his opportunity to tell her that he chose someone else. You know, but he didn't even get the opportunity to say that because she came in, as you said, like, you know, a wrecking ball. But also, you know, if we can say that, maybe Kieran woke up because he said, because he didn't have it as a child, he wanted someone a whole lot more motherly. So, I mean, and this is not to come at Sophie in any way, but looking at how she has been presented on the show, she's not given us the maternal, you know, part. And also how some people, not all, how some people see it. Her experience, she was raised with a dad and 4 or 5 brothers. That's not giving off that, you know, she had a motherly type and would be motherly in the future. So if Kieran is looking at it based on what he said, if that's what he wants, he could have been looking and be like, wait a minute, which one would I prefer to have a family with? Which lady would I prefer? And Sophie wasn't given that to him. Yes, you could hold your cards close to your chest, but then this is what happens when you hold your cards, but then you still want to win the match. It's not going to happen. It is not. But again, as Annie said, it's about embarrassment. Did you consider how I would look? Everybody looking at me? It was not about, you really hurt my heart because I thought we were going to be married.
Any other thoughts on this before we switch it again? No?
I'm just going to say I agree with El Cid. It was not about, you know, I'm upset that we didn't work out because I could see a future with you. It was, look how you made me look with around the other ladies. Look how you made me feel, you know, how I'm going to come across on TV, that, all that type of stuff. Wrong energy. If he's looking for someone to partner up with, he should be thinking about, who do I see long term? Who do I want to wake up every day with, go to sleep every day with? You know, when things get tough, how does she react under pressure? How does she react when she's upset about something? And Sophie got it all wrong. That's not his flavor. That's not his cup of tea.
And last point, I can bet you top dollar that when it's all said and done, she's gonna go on like a podcast tour to slander him. She's got that type. She's the type. I can tell you that.
She's done it already. She's on podcasts already.
All right.
Exactly. Right. That's all you need to know then. Wrong choice. That would have been the wrong choice.
I'm not mad at it. I hear you. I hear you all. I hear you all. Okay. You want to do Patrick? Okay, cool. That's cool. No worries at all. Let's look at Patrick and Annie then. And let's break them down as well. Want to get you guys' perspective on this situation in regards to the fact that you know, they weren't compatible, and he followed his spleen and he went a different way. So definitely want to understand where you guys' thought processes were, how you saw it. You know, was it the right choice? Whose fault was it, or was it both their faults? Like, what could they improve on? How are we feeling about these two? Because obviously we know they didn't go anywhere, but I want to get your perspectives on this situation. You know what I mean? Yes, I'll Sid.
Did we really need to see them? I mean, technically, this is production. Do we really need to see the folks that don't end up engaged? Because I was secondhand embarrassed for Anu when it was like, I wrote a song for you, want to hear it? Here it go. And he was like, no. We really didn't need to see it. But, you know, I have an unpopular opinion that I think she also wasted his time. If you are as religious and Christian as you say you are, and you fast, you are on the prayer call line, a man who listens to his organs is not going to be who you bring home to the mother that you're going to listen to. That was not needed. Now, I do hear people saying, you know, him asking her to sing is like asking, you know, hey, I paid a ticket for the show, dance for me, dance. I think it's his tone, but if that is your talent, and it will be considered a gift for her to sing to him. But to me, it's also Netflix. If she sings, it is certainly advertising for her to have more clients. But yes, you don't perform on demand. But it did sound like a demand when he said it. Now, when she said that she can't be with anyone that her mother would say no to, why are we here? Why doesn't mom just matchmake you with a good young man from the church that she would approve of, and you could go live happily ever after? I don't think that Anu was, or as she said, her life was ready for this, considering everything else. But if you go down the rabbit hole, what Patrick is talking about is a section of people that what he's talking about, listening to body parts. If you go down that rabbit hole of information, that is how can I say it? It is an infant cult that is spreading. So if you don't know about that, then definitely him not saying Jesus Christ is his personal Lord and Savior should be an indication of you need to run. So Anu, you know, I don't like the fact that he rejected her, but that's just my personal belief. I think she should have known this ain't the man for me. He is not going to help, you know, lead your household, and she should not have entertained him in any way.
Yeah, kind of agree with what you're saying. I've smoked for both of them, but I'm a Christian as well, and I knew that it's like unequally yoked. This was an easy slam dunk. The minute he started talking about his spleen and all that type of stuff, she should have screwed out of it. But I don't get it, and I feel that's why I sometimes think I feel like she wanted to look for a husband, but I felt like when she tied her boat to Patrick, she just decided, okay, let me get further in the process, regardless, even if I don't want to marry him, because that whole different faith thing alone should have been enough to know that this wasn't the guy for you. And I was actually more curious to see whether she had a date with Demola. Maybe they could have been a bit more matched. I don't know, but like, yeah, I don't know what she was thinking when she by even entertaining him. And I also think that he's just an unserious guy, man. I don't understand him. But her when they were talking, one thing I didn't like as well is that like he was trying to get her to sing, when she said that she was trying to be humble, he spoke about how that's low vibrations and all that stuff. So, and I just don't like the way that their conversations felt quite disjointed. I didn't really see like the chemistry. I felt like they were testing each other all the time. Like when he asked her to sing, when he spoke about the whole low vibration stuff, and then she was like when he asked her, he didn't ask in those words, but what did he say? He said something like what do you bring to the table? Not what do you bring to the table. It was an iterative of that. And then she said, oh, I bring me. He didn't say what you bring to the table. He said something like that. I can't remember what he said. And then she's just like, oh yeah, I'm just me. I was like, don't you have a better answer to that? Because he spoke about, oh no, what do you do in the life of your partner or something like that? And she couldn't give any good answer. He said, oh, I'm a light to my partner. I do this, I do that. You know, he's good with his words. But then she couldn't really say much. She's like, yeah, I'm just me. I was like, that's kind of like a bit of a dead answer. So I just don't think they were a good match. And I feel like if he hadn't pulled the trigger, she wouldn't have. And I feel like if she didn't pull the trigger, they would have gone further down the process, and then it would have been, they would have just broken up at the altar anyway. But I have an unpopular view that sometimes, I'm not saying Anu's doing this, but sometimes I feel like there's certain people that go on the show, especially certain women that go on the show, that if they match with someone, if that could potentially can get the villain edit, that is the best case scenario for that person, because they will get to the end, everyone will feel sorry for them, the guy will get the villain edit, and then they are catapulted through the goodwill and the sisterhood rallying behind her. That's actually more powerful than just being like a fan favorite. It's actually being a downtrodden person that everyone rallies around. And I think people know that there's a formula to that. So when they see a whatless guy, they say, okay, let me get with him, take it to the altar, cry a bit, get dumped or dump him, and then I've got everyone backing me, and my followers go up. But that's the cynical me talking.
Yeah, I can see that cynical view actually as well. But let's just say, I mean, I'll keep this one short. I think their connection just faded and fizzled, and probably in hindsight, she'll be thankful because he's got stuff going on outside of the show, some responsibilities that he's going to be tied to for a little while. And he's got some social media battles to deal with as well. So let's just say sometimes it's good to not get what you want. And, you know, sometimes connections work, sometimes they don't. But in this case, she's better off being able to move on and find someone who doesn't have the firestorm that he has going on in real life.
I hear you on that. I definitely hear you on that as well. How did you guys feel maybe about Patrick and Anu in terms of him saying, you know, that it was low vibration, or the fact that she, I think he was saying about the fact that she would listen to her parents. I think that's what he said at the time. I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. You know, is it low vibrational when you listen to your parents? Can you understand his point of view as well? Or is it just a crazy statement to make in regards to what Patrick said to Anu? Yes, Annie.
He's just a contrarian. You can tell that he's a contrarian. So I feel like I think he spoke about it. Like his dad was pretty a strict Nigerian. His mum was a bit more carefree. And I don't know his childhood, but I feel like he's got a rebellious nature. So I think, and being a contrarian, having a rebellious nature, he probably sees anything as conforming as low vibration. So I wasn't surprised that was his worldview, because for him to double down on all this spleen talk, knowing that it makes him sound a bit wild, he must have a really strong sense of self. Well, now he may be wrong in it, but I kind of respect the fact that sometimes if you're wrong and strong, I kind of respect it in some kind of weird way. But like, I think he has like this is what I'm going to do, and I don't care how everyone feels about it. And so I guess it aligns with the way he views the world. So
the way I heard it is just don't overly be a people pleaser, because that will be like really setting yourself up to just doing what everybody else wants you to do rather than what you want to do for yourself and make yourself happy. But I saw online somebody said that Patrick is Kenneth across the pond, Kenneth from AD season, the principal with the braids too, and I cannot unsee it. I'm sorry, I cannot unsee it. But what's the parallel?
What's the parallel?
Huh?
What's the parallels between him and Kenneth? Can you elaborate?
They have a similar look in that he has the same plaits in his hair and the same ends and stuff like that, and a round face. So they kind of look very, very similar. So that's Kenneth from AD season. I think is Love Is Blind Charlotte. But But I understand what he's saying. But the flippant way in the way he was saying it, like I don't listen to anybody, is how he said it. But I think what he means is I don't have people's opinions, move me in a direction that isn't going to best serve me and my happiness. Is a better way for him to say it. But not to listen to anybody, as the old saying, a wise man knows that he knows nothing at all. But he just is coming off as condescending, like he knows everything. I don't need to listen to anyone because I am all knowing. It's kind of giving me a superiority complex. And I'm like, dude, if he would have reeled it in just a little bit, I don't think the ladies would have seen him for who he was. If his tone was Demola, if his tone was a little gentler, I don't think the ladies would have seen him for what he was doing, because it would have been subtle. It would have just if he didn't say anything about spleen, the ladies wouldn't have seen it.
It's that whole Dunning-Kruger thing, isn't it? Where you do a little. He probably went on a little crash course, went down the YouTube rabbit hole, and started taught himself like a new stuff, and then now he thinks he knows everything when he only knows a little bit.
So I thought he was testing her to see how she can be swayed in her, like by her parents or her family or outside influences, as opposed to listening to him in a relationship. So how much influence does other people's opinions, especially her parents, govern how she will act in a relationship with him? That could be one of the reasons why he was turned off as well. But the fact is, the connection they made early was promising. But then, when he started talking about his spleen, I was like, I'd never heard that before in my life. I don't know why you made that up. Like, usually common sense will dictate you listen to your mind, you have a gut that you listen to, and you listen to your heart. Obviously, for men, we have other parts we listen to as well, but the spleen isn't it. So I don't know where he got it from, but I'm going to say that it was a test to see how much influence she's prepared to, like, how much of the reins she's prepared to let him have in any potential relationship.
That's a good one. I didn't think of that. Yeah, he was like, I see people in the chat saying what you're saying. I didn't even think of that. Like, when you want to get someone into a cult, you slowly break down the barriers of, how much are you going to listen to your parents? Why are you talking to those friends? If you want to get deep, but I don't know if you want to get that deep. But yeah, I can see the.
Feel free to get that deep. If you want to get that deep, feel free. But we're talking about what the audience is talking about. They are talking about it, so go for it.
You break down the support networks, innit? Right? Why are you listening to your parents? Why are you listening to your friends? They don't understand. You just listen to me. I'm your world, and then that's how it works, isn't it? A lot of the time. So yeah, don't think of that. Good point.
It's also the beginning of the isolation that starts DV. So it could be. So the only reason I would, kind of tone it down just a little bit, because we know they give them those cards to ask questions and stimulate it in the pods. I think the way he said it, this is a good one. I think the way he said it, when maybe he pulled one of those cards to ask, your parents, do your parents have influence? Or if your family rejected me, would you still pick me? I think is one of those card questions. But that people pleasing question, I think that was him. I think that was all him, unless we find out otherwise that editing just hid the cards from us.
I will say though, just to talk about something very briefly that you just mentioned, Elsid, like if your family was against our relationship, what would you do? That's going to be an interesting situation for Karl and Sarova. And that's because of there is a historic clash between their two cultures.
Goes back to Gandhi. Goes all the way back to Gandhi.
Yeah, there's honor kills and things like that. If you date the person that your family disapprove of, it can get very crazy, especially for women in the situation.
Yeah.
It's very rarely that I've heard of guys
Mm.
being attacked by their family members, but women will get, you know, their male relatives will get really crazy with how they feel disrespected if you date outside the culture. And so that would be an interesting conversation. Hope that it doesn't go like that, but from the previews, looks like both sides of the families are just like, no, we don't see it working. And that's probably because of the cultural dislike rather than the chemistry that the two people have.
Well, since you brought them up, remember Sarova also said that there are multiple cultures that her family has married into. But that doesn't mean Pakistani is going to be one of them accepted. You know,
exactly.
if she has a brother that, you know, married a Pakistani young lady or a sister married a Pakistani young man, I would say, okay, the family's familiar and they have broken down those walls. But those two right there, generationally, that's going to be a tall hill to climb. But for me, you know what you guys presented and taught me was it's not just that, but also in the UK, there's a class issue and structure. And I think that is another one that's going to play a role here because he's a co-owner of a gym while her family owns a medical distribution company. I think the class issue it's not just he Pakistani, you know, looking good in his suit, but I think it's hey, we at this level and we don't think Cal's family is at that level.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was going to say about the class. I think the class one is so much more important to me personally because obviously everyone creates personas when you start hearing people's backstory. And Karl, where is he from? Wigan. He's like he's half white, half Pakistani. He has he got family members in the army? Did he say that? Yeah.
His brother was in the
okay,
military, cool. And another brother had substance issues.
Exactly. I kind of know. Well, let me not create archetypes, but I know I get an idea of what background he came from. And hers is, I'm guessing, I believe she's from London as well. Oh, something like that. She speaks quite posh. So I feel like she's had like a good, maybe she's second gen or first gen, and then she's had probably more affluent lifestyle than he has, or maybe she's done the upward mobility was done by her. Maybe her parents came to the country or they were here and then she's gone up. So she's got a certain lifestyle that she's created for herself through the hard work. And then he's kind of like working class, but he's doing pretty well. And sometimes that culture clash is quite in the UK. It's quite jarring. The class thing, even more so than they're fighting a lot of stuff. They're fighting the two different cultures, two countries that aren't compatible, and two different classes as well. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like to root for them, but I don't know.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that because obviously there is a major class issues in the UK, right? But I think the saving grace is Karl is the owner of the gym rather than a gym employee and this, that, the other, right? I think that might be it. He owns it. So that's where the money comes in. Gyms pretty much run themselves, right? You employ staff.
How much you making as a gym co-owner? It's a co-owner.
We need to check Company House after. Do you remember that Irish guy that said he owned the gym and he was?
Yes, I do remember that. Listen,
I got PTSD, man. I need to check Company House.
Yeah, you can do some investigation work. Unfortunately, the fitness industry over here anyway is set up so that, you know, if you own a gym, it pretty much runs itself. You just like you're making money off memberships. You don't have to employ that many staff, and so it's a money-making opportunity. You can get a franchise, 50K, and sometimes even less than that if it's a lesser-known gym. But 50K for a well-known franchise, they'll do everything for you. Kit out the gym. All you do is count the coins. That's it, right?
But she wants to be a stay-at-home mom.
His lifestyle might afford him that opportunity. While she's out, you know, making a career woman of herself, she might not want to step back into and sacrifice her job role or whatever the case may be. But fact of the matter is, you can tell by the way he talks, he is actually quite common. What people would say is common, yeah. Whereas she comes from a more well-spoken, posh, probably much higher educated background. So that may cause a clash, and the families may not, her family may not approve of that as well. So that is really something that could happen. But you can never judge a book by its cover. He may have other relatives that work in dentistry, medical. Like Asians typically do well in the UK when they come over here, you know, and they have a strategy of bringing in relatives, and everyone goes off and studies, and you all live in the same house, and then you go off and do your thing, and then you keep repeating that system. So he will have some affluent somewhere, but the area that he grew up in of the UK makes his accent, because it's that thick accent, it sounds like a more common accent. It doesn't mean that he's not as intelligent. It just means that it just gives that aesthetic by the way he sounds, right?
We're not even talking about intelligence. Sorry, we're not even talking about intelligence.
Go ahead, Anu.
It's also about like even before he actually proclaims that she's not the type that he normally dates, and he normally goes for white blonde girls. I'd assumed that just because of his backstory, and it's like, and it's the equivalent of like, it's the equivalent of like a black guy that's maybe not raised in like a London or Birmingham. He's raised in like a more area where there's not many black people. His lived experience is going to be so much different. So this is what we're contending with. He's a mixed race guy that's only really been dating white girls. So that what he likes is slightly different than what he's dating right now. He's from a different class than she is. He's from countries that are, these are three things they're contested with, two countries that are at war with each other. So the three things they're contested with. If I was a gambling man, I don't know, man. Do you know what I mean? It's not looking good. But
yeah, because his you know, his dad is the one who is Pakistani, and he now lives in Dubai, and he, you know, had more contact when he was there. And the mom is the one that is, you know, so again, even here's why I didn't see a huge issue with him and who he has. I rather say historically dated rather than preference. He's historically dated. He's historically dated ladies that potentially could look like his mother. So, you know, his mother, the way he's saying it is, you know, Caucasian, or she could be mixed as well. But he said both sides. So I'm like, that's why I don't fuss at him so much, because that is who raised him, you know, and that, as you said, is probably the environment he was raised in, where it wasn't a whole lot like him in the area. So I think the class and the separation of India and Pakistan, I don't know which one the family is going to put front and center, but I think both of those. And what I didn't hear is religion. I didn't hear religion from them. So that is another concern for me, is that traditionally, you know, Pakistani have been Muslim and Indian have been Hindu. Not saying that they aren't, you know, either or, but I haven't heard religion and their religious perspectives from here. And that could be another layer that they got to have a challenge.
Absolutely. And I will also throw this out, because this hasn't been mentioned either, but if it worked for Karl's mum and dad, maybe there is hope as well, because they're from different backgrounds completely.
But did it work?
Did it work?
Well, it worked enough for them to have a couple of kids and produce him.
They had 3 kids and daddy ran to Dubai and daddy don't call. Did it work?
Yeah, Dubai is a different culture altogether as well. Maybe daddy can fit in Dubai and mum can't, because you know, it's not a Western country. You can't have too many Western values over there. So it's a different country altogether. So but yeah, if you know, if Karl's mum and dad can copulate, or whatever you want to call it, then there may be hope for him in this regard. I doubt it though. You have outlined the 3 major concerns. You know, the 2 countries are at war with each other, and historically have been, and probably will be for the foreseeable. So yeah, it's not. He's
gonna go to a mixer, see a blonde girl, and then he's gonna forget.
Yes. Well, Barda's right there, and obviously there will be some level of intimidation there, because when he was sitting next to Bart, remember, he was sitting there talking, and before he could get in the conversation, she comes and inserts herself right between the both of them, And then when she was away talking with the blonde lady, I
Ashley.
forget her name.
Ashley.
Yeah, right. He still stayed there talking with Bada. And even though there is, you know, I think she's just very aware that blonde may be his go-to, and, you know, without trying to prejudge him and label him as a cheat or someone who will possibly do something about it, I know that she's got her antennas up already.
But again, you know, it's an insecurity because he also knows that she hasn't dated outside of Indian men. So he's taken that with, okay, and he's taken the fact, again, you know, he's Pakistani. So, you know, whereas he's taking it and like, okay, she is overthinking this. And I wonder if she is an overthinker, overanalyzer, and this could, you know, sometimes grate the nerves of your partner. Sometimes. But yeah, that I'm scared that we haven't heard anything about religion. And that too is a huge part of the culture. Huge part. Mm-hmm. Now, if they were both Muslim, I'll be like, okay, maybe. But if they are of differences, but hey, her family has accepted other cultures within marriage, within the family. So maybe they are certainly going to be open to it. But then I think the class issue, you know, unless he owns at least 5 gyms in London, I don't think the family is going to be that open, you know, to him. And, you know, I don't know how, you know, any, you know, or, you know, any gentleman on the panel, do the people in the UK view service in the military the way Americans do, so reverently?
Nope. Not at all.
No.
No.
Thank you, because that was my only saving grace. I said the brother is a veteran. It's like, okay, America, we're like, thank you for your service. It is something to, you know, be of service to your country.
No.
You all don't view it that way. Daggone it.
Absolutely not. It's the opposite.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems that like a lot of the working class cities where maybe the industry has not as like industry has subsided past after the industrial age. Those are the places where a lot of the army people seem to come from. I don't want to speak out of turn, but that's what we see a lot of time. So it may be the towns that used to have industries and factories and stuff like that, but now a lot of people from those towns seem to go into the military as a way to have a career and stuff.
Or you also have the very rich, wealthy demographic of people that send, you know, their kids willingly join the army because it's sort of like a club as well, where you get to rub shoulders with, you know, generals, royalty. You know, you have like Prince Harry, Prince William, all these people doing army service as well.
Yeah, they get fast tracked, don't they? They don't get no.
Yeah, they get fast tracked. But you know, there are some toffs, some posh people that go into the army as well. But it's not as highly revered as a service as it is in the States. It's definitely not. There is still the same problem that you know, after they are released from the army and they come back into civilization. I think in both countries, like the US and the UK, the service is largely forgotten once they come back, and then the trauma and PTSD and all the other issues, homelessness, does occur as well. That's probably the only similarity.
Very interesting. I was wondering about that, you know, as, you know, how the family would view it. And if they don't view that service as high, then, you know, kudos to his brother, who is sober in every respect, multiple years sober. I don't know how her family, unless they've experienced it themselves, would possibly view that as well. So very interesting about how military service is seen there as opposed to how it's revered here.
Yeah, completely different.
I mean, hey, I hear you, and I definitely understand what you guys are saying in terms of the cultural and the religious aspect as well. That's going to be a tricky one to navigate. So we're waiting to see how the families come out. That will be where I think they're tried and tested, and see if they can progress past where they are. If they can get past that, they should be fine. You know what I mean? Well, that's if Karl doesn't end up with a blonde. Okay, so let's quickly talk about obviously Jed and oh, you guys already spoke about Jed and Bard, haven't you?
No, we moved over to Karl and Sarova.
Okay. My bad. I heard Jed because I think Life of Reality was my Jed, but
yeah, Jed and Bardha, and then you have Billy and Ashley.
Like Billy and Ashley are pretty cool. Okay, Jed and Bardha, their situation. We know that we know that with Jed's background and Bardha's background, similar, not the same. Kosovo for her. He's Lebanese or half Lebanese as well. A little bit spicy, as he said himself. And don't do that, Elsa. They seem to be legit. They seem to. It just seems to fit like a glove for now. Of course, we haven't seen anything happens next few 4 episodes, but for now they fit like a glove. And it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be going well for them as well. They're in the I love you stage. They said that quite early on. They seem to be quite well gelled together. What's you guys and ladies' thoughts around this Jed and Bardha situation? What have you picked up that is? What do you think they've done well to get to the stage? What do you think? What were the things that aided them to be able to make such a transition to be so quote unquote positive in their relationship? It's nice to have some good stuff for once. Any open the mic first, and then Elsid.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
That's all right.
Jed. Obviously, he seemed like the quintessential East London cheeky chappy, whatever. But like, it seems like he's comes from like a good family, and he looks like he's coming for the right reasons. It seems like it. And I think Bardha. Yeah, I haven't got too much to say on them. I think they seem like a good couple. The only thing that would be a question mark is that I think Bardha's got quite a she seems like a type A go-getter. Obviously immigrant story, like she said she's the first daughter. Do you know, like the go-getter spirit and all that type of stuff, which is good. I don't want to sound like some freaking Red Bull guy, innit? but do you know, like she's got quite like she's got a strong personality. She's a go-getter. She's doing well in her career, and I think Jed seems to wants to be the. I think there's going to be two alpha personalities. I think that's what it is. That's the short of it. That's the only thing I see. That could potentially be a question mark. But apart from that, if they can navigate that, then I think them two will be fine. But I think they will at some point they'll butt heads over like who wants to not dominate this relationship, but who wants to take the lead in this relationship. But if they can find a happy medium or make a decision on that, then I think they'll be fine. But I think there will be a point where they butt heads. But if they can get past that, they'll be fine.
I gotta head out after this, but I have to say, yes, they are warming my heart. And the bad part about that is if I'm too warmed up for a couple, it's gonna be fireworks later. And that is where I'm treading lightly. I like Bardha. I love, her backstory with her family. It is, of course, the immigrant story for many. But I like how she words it, how she speaks about it, and how she is so happy that her family is proud of her. Now, Jed, he is there. He wants to be, would y'all call him try to be a solid bloke? I don't know. But he's definitely trying to be a solid individual. He wants to be a good husband. He wants to be a family man. What I would say, UK, I don't know if it's a traditional thing, but y'all don't give gifts. And the only thing I saw was Bardha giving him that lovely date night crossword puzzle. I ain't see Jed reciprocate. And that could be production. Of course, this is an edited show, okay? But Jed may be one of those solid dudes that, hey, he will do everything a husband is supposed to do. He's just not the romantic type with the flowers and stuff like that. He's just a good, solid dude. I'm hoping for that. But I'm like, Bardha gave him a gift, very thoughtful. Where are her flowers? That's all I was looking at. You know, Jed, don't forget, when you do get the girl, you got to treat her right. That's all I'm saying. Is he going to be filling, you know, her tank for love and the way she wishes to receive it? Is my question there. They're talking family, they're talking kids, they're talking all of this. I'm just, you know, wondering, is it going to be evenly matched, or is she happy with how it's progressed? That's all. He loved the gift, but we didn't see, you know, much of anything.
I think this couple actually mesh quite well. Like Annie said, East London guy, cheeky chappy as they call him, bit of a chav, very tall. Someone that it looks like someone that she would probably go for. Didn't see any issues with their chemistry when they met. Even their backgrounds, both from a similar part of the world, both similar part of Europe, where there is no beef between the two countries, as far as I know. So the family situation might actually work for them as well. They might get some support there. So I can't really say I've seen anything to really highlight with this couple. I think, you know, she may attract some admirers, and now that they've seen her, they've seen the blonde hair, the figure, whatever. She may have people looking in her direction that she's not coupled with, but I don't think, from what I've seen, she's attracted to anybody else. So, and a big bulky dude like that, I think he can handle himself as well. So, yeah, I think they could actually work, to be honest.
I mean, listen, I think with you know, I think with Jed and Barda, I like the fact that they both came in there seemingly very intentional. They found each other quite quickly. It seems like, again, editing. They found each other quite quickly, settled down, spoke about wanting to speak about in terms of compatibility, nailed it, and went on with it. You know what I mean? Then they met each other, and they are similar aesthetics as well. So, you know, I think, you know, I think in this instance, you know, it was good to see them in that instance, and also good for us to see as well. Like, that's how easy it can be. You know what I mean? Like, everyone else is, you know, see people struggling and stuff, but that's how easy it can be. It's just like, you know, these are what my family is. This is what my values are. These are what my thing. And once you get closer to your values and your ambitions, your goals, and your vision for your life and how you see it, the quicker you can X people out who don't apply to it. You know. And so I like watching Jed and Barda. They seem really, really cool. I hope nothing stupid happens. I don't think anything will, but you know, you never know. Next 4 episodes, it could be some carnage. You know, so we'll see. Someone said I feel like they could have met at all bar one. I hear it.
I put that there.
Like that.
Yeah, they look like they
yeah.
met at the club, or like Wetherspoons all by one or something like that.
They do look decent. I can't lie to you. So yeah, I mean, Barda looked beautiful coming out that when she came out the review. I you know, and I think in the pod she looked wonderful to look at. But when she came out in the review, I was like, oh, this is lovely. So yeah, I see both of them, and I think he's definitely her type. She said she liked them big guys, so he's not a small man. So don't let it fool you, but he's not a small man out here. So yeah, I think they are they're definitely a couple to be, I think, to be enjoyed. You know what I mean? So I like it. Okay, last couple, Billy and Ashley. I want to know what your thoughts were, because you remember he said he don't do those air hostess people. That was his problem. But obviously he caved in. He met her. He liked her. He fancied her. You know, he thinks she's attractive. But is there something else that's going to go? Is there something else that's going to happen here? You know, I want to understand if your thought process. What did you guys see from Billy and Ashley in a sense? Yes, let's Annie go for it. You can go for it.
Do you want to go? Okay. I ain't got too much to say about these lot as well. I can understand his apprehension about maybe the lifestyle difference, but she seemed like ready to potentially change that if the right person was, if she was ready to get hitched to the right person. So I don't think that was too much of a blocker. Yeah, Billy and Ashley. I don't even know. I ain't got much to say about them. They were just. You have to play by ear with them, though, because he seems like an alright guy. She seems alright. I don't know. I ain't got much to say on them. Laugh, really. What you got to say? Maybe I'll jump in.
Okay, so initially, I thought that they were moving very fast. The way that they locked in on each other so quick, especially from him, locked in quite quickly, and I did at first have apprehension, but and also I don't think I even paid attention to the air hostess part, but now thinking about it, yeah, she's traveling all over the place, 3 or 4 days away at a time in different locations, and while she's single, that's fine. You can have your flings and your holiday romances and all those type of things. In a relationship, though, there'd have to be a lot of trust there, and I don't think it will come down to some type of ultimatum, or you choose your career, or you choose a relationship, or anything like that. He seems like a very cool guy who's accepting of who she is, and from what he knows about her, he's got good vibes. He feels like there's a connection there. She feels like there's a connection. I think he does love her already, but that's because I think he hasn't had that much experience in or felt the way he feels about her. I don't think he's felt that before, so he's trying to lock that down. And I also think they had commonality on the military background. I think they both were in the military at some point. I know he is, but I think she did something briefly or something. But ultimately, they both seem like two caring people who could potentially work.
Yeah, you jogged my memory now. She was on the reserves, wasn't she? So she got that as well. She was in the reserves, and then he was divorced, wasn't he? So yeah. I feel like he's actually got genuine. I don't think he's trying to build up a social media following. I think he's actually trying to find a wife. So I think this could work unless something a spanner's in the works. But I think he is intentional, and so yeah, I think it could work. But we don't know. Yeah. What do you think, Coach?
Last question then about Billy and Ashley, and obviously like I said, the airliner hostess thing was because he felt like his last marriage, he didn't have the quality time and attention that he actually wanted from his partner. How does one resolve that particular issue then? Because obviously that's a real issue that can happen even if they're not airline hostess, you know what I mean? So how does one go about solving that issue? Because as much as I think it is about being an air hostess, I also think as well, like, people can be in jobs in 9 to 5 and you ain't gonna see each other for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. You know what I mean? You're gonna say an issue. So what's your guys' thoughts on that? How do you solve that issue then in this regard?
I'd like to see a deeper dive into that, because that sounded a little bit. I think that's a bit of a. I don't know. Obviously, when people get divorced, they get divorced for a multitude of reasons, never one. But like, I felt quality time is something that can be probably remedied a little bit easier than like bigger issues in a relationship. So if that was the main reason why they got divorced, I'm wondering, is there more to it, or did he? I don't know, because it takes two, doesn't it? So I feel you just need to be intentional, and he's an army trainer, so maybe he's very regimented. He's like, he wakes up at this time, he does this, like he's a creature of habit. And when he's dating someone that's a bit, their timetable's a bit haphazard, maybe it just doesn't correlate. So you have to be intentional. That's sounds like an easy answer, but I feel like you play your part as well in that, because if he could be dating a nurse, she does crazy time shifts as well. So it doesn't even have to be something as out there as an air hostess. If he was dating a nurse that was in the same town as him, their schedules might not align. So you have to actually be like, okay, let's block this out for date night or whatever like that. And that could have been easily remedied if you're married. If that's the only reason why I got divorced, then I'm like, does he quit easily? I don't want to assume that, but if that's the only reason, but obviously you only get one side of the story, you only get given what they've given you. So if that's the reason why they got divorced, then I'm like, you need to be a bit more intentional and with spending time with your partner.
So yeah, I definitely think if the relationship, the love languages are quality time, then any time away from your partner is going to be potentially an issue if it lasts long. Now, if he works at as an army trainer, he's away at the barracks You know, he'll have to stay there for a while, or if he's called up for certain things, you know, related to his job, he's going to be away too. I think the frequency that they're away from each other may play a part in causing a problem, because as an air hostess, I think it's something like 4 or 5 days traveling, and then you probably get 4 or 5 days back home, or something like that. It is a weird shift, and again, you're flying away to different parts of the world, so there isn't that ability to always communicate on a telephone or WhatsApp or FaceTime and all those things, because she'll be in the air where you're not allowed to have planes. Sorry, you're not allowed to have phones on the plane and things like that. So it depends how much he values quality time. You know, is it a deal breaker if he doesn't speak to her for, you know, 2 or 3 days, or if she's away on for a long period of time? Is that a deal breaker for him? That would be an issue if that was the reason for his first marriage. Failing. But I would also say that I would expect that he would have learned lessons. So if quality time was the reason or a major factor, hopefully when they are together, they take advantage of that quality time, and they're quite understanding of each other's profession and the demands of it, where they're required to be away from home for spells of time too. You know, I'm not sure how they navigate it, but we are in 2025. There's different ways to do it. Hopefully they do manage to put structures in place. The Army's infamous for having their cadets and employees and sergeants and everything being very regimented. So maybe they create a schedule and they stick to it, and they're able to navigate that.
And I also got a feeling that hopefully I'm wrong, but I got a feeling that hopefully he doesn't do this. But if they do see it to the end, I hope he doesn't just try and once they're married, he's going to be like, hey, quit your job, kind of thing. Because you said you would do it, but there was no timeline presented, but it said, oh, if the opportunity arises. But I hope he's not like, okay, let's quit your job and come, because it's going to take time to do that. It's going to take time. I think that's when you're locked in, but that's just me speculating. I don't think that'll happen, but I hope that doesn't happen in terms of, because he said that, because as he said, he made a big thing of dating a hair hostess before, and it kind of it didn't work out. So I hope if he thinks that's going to be a determining factor, and if the relationship doesn't survive, maybe he'll try and get her to quit her job sooner rather than later. That's just speculation.
So I think there's a bigger issue is that Billy threw his ex underneath the bus. He never said really. He said he's never really been in love. Really, Billy?
That's true. Actually, he did say that, didn't he? That's kind of wild to say that. And you're married. So why'd you get married if you're in love? But you know, army people get married young, you know. So maybe you got married when he's like 19, 20. That can happen, you know.
Maybe, yeah.
Young.
And let's be fair. Love isn't the only reason why people get married. It could be a marriage of convenience. It could be pressures from family or peers or whatever. Yeah, or cultural. Yeah. You know, could have been for a citizenship for the wife or whatever. You never know.
Yeah.
You ain't lied. All right. Well, listen, it's been a good conversation, fellas. I know El Cid was on here with us earlier on. Good dissection. We'll be back obviously next Saturday to dissect a bit more of the show when they release more episodes as well. So thank you very much, Annie. Thank you very much, JR. We appreciate you. It's a blessing to have you guys on here as well. For those of you in the audience, it's been good to have this conversation with you. It's over 150 guys was in the room. We appreciate you. And I'm slowly coming back to doing these lives. It's taking a little bit of a while with his coaching. So appreciate you who all came out to support. We'll be back next week with another live as well. And of course, when Married at First Sight begins kicking off, we'll also have those lives on a Thursday night. Okay. So I appreciate you. Make sure you stay locked and you stay loaded. We will see you very, very soon. Much love.
All right.